Once again, we find ourselves a government looking at preaching rules, laws and accountability, yet can't seem to follow the basics themselves. This week it's the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, caught out renting a London home without the legally required licence. A licence that anyone else in Britain would be prosecuted for failing to have. She's blamed her estate agents, claiming they were supposed to apply for the licence. It would have cost her around £900, but they never even asked her for the payment. Now ask yourself this: if it were you or me letting out a property without the correct licence, would we get the same, oh sorry, honest mistake treatment? Or would we be slapped with a fine, possibly taken to court, maybe even ordered to repay the rent? Because let's be honest, if you're a normal landlord, you'd be prosecuted. But if you're in government, you get an apology and a quick, let's move on. And that right there is what is driving Britain to the edge. Not just this scandal, but the constant, growing feeling of double standards. Let's get into details. Rachel Reeves rented out a family home in South London. The law is simple. If your property sits in a borough that requires a selective licence, like Southwark does, you must have one before letting out. That licence costs around £900 and lasts for about 5 years. And it ensures that property meets safety and management standards. If you don't have one, you're breaking the law. You can face an unlimited fine, repayment orders, even criminal prosecution. And that's exactly what Reeves failed to do. She rented the house, collected thousands a month in rent, all while not having the proper paperwork. When caught, she said this: I used an estate agent. They were meant to apply for the licence. They didn't ask for the payment, so it never happened. Hold on a second. This isn't a small detail that slipped through the cracks. This is a legally required document, something every landlord has to secure before a tenant moves in. Why didn't Rachel Reeves ever ask? Hey, did you apply for that £900 licence? When will the council confirm it? When do I need to make the £900 payment? Because let's face it, when it's your property, your money, and your name on the paperwork, you check. She's the Chancellor, the person managing the nation's finances, yet somehow can't manage her own rental licence. Come off it. If the estate agent messed up, fair enough. They should be held accountable too. But ultimate responsibility still lies with her. Because when you rent a house, the licence sits in your name. It's your legal duty. And it's your responsibility to make sure it's done. If a private landlord made that excuse, my estate agent forgot, they'd be laughed out of court. This is a double standard that's burning through Britain right now. Politicians get to shrug and move on. Everyone else pays a fine. Leadership is built on accountability and discipline. Two things this government seems to lack. When you're in charge of people's money, of their lives, of national policy, you can't plead ignorance. You can't say, I didn't know, because ignorance at this level is incompetence. If Reeves can't manage a £900 licence, how can she manage the UK's 1.3 trillion budget? And it's not just about this one mistake, it's about the message it sends. For years now, the British public has been told to tighten its belts, pay more tax, follow more rules, obey more regulations. Meanwhile, the very people who write those rules can't follow them themselves. It's one rule for them and one rule for us. And that's the recipe for resentment, anger and civil unrest. This isn't just a housing paperwork blunder. It's symbolic. It's another chisel mark in the crumbling wall of public trust. Every scandal, every lie, every "it wasn't my fault" excuse chips away at that wall. And eventually that wall falls. And when it falls, the fallout isn't just political. It's social, it's cultural, it's national. Because when the people stop believing in their government, the nation becomes ungovernable. Now let's talk about the latest spark in Britain's division. The government's decision to allow students from Gaza to study in UK universities and bring their families with them. Yes, families. While British families are struggling to afford housing, while universities are overwhelmed, and while local councils are crying out for funding, this government has decided to open the door even wider. Now, before anyone decides to jump the gun, this isn't about lacking compassion for people suffering in war zones. This is just about fairness, security, and double standards at play. Why is it suddenly that we can make exceptions for foreign nationals, while thousands of British students can't even find affordable accommodation? Why is it that our veterans, our nurses, and our elderly are scraping by, yet our government finds new ways to extend resources abroad? And it's not about hate, it's about logic. If you can't look after your own house, you don't invite more people in until it's in order. It's basic leadership. But this government doesn't understand that. They're chasing headlines, appeasing activist groups, and ignoring that silent majority, the hard-working, law-abiding British public who just want fairness. So now you've got anger building on two fronts. 1, the political elite who break the rules. 2, immigration policies that look unfair and unbalanced. And that combination, corruption at the top, chaos in policy, creates division. And division breeds unrest. Britain has always been built on unity through hard times. But now we're seeing that slow fracture of this unity. Look around, the divide is everywhere. Protests on the streets, political chaos in Westminster, working class families feeling abandoned, veterans feeling forgotten, and patriots being labelled extremists for simply raising their flag. This is what happens when trust collapses. When people believe the government no longer represents them, they start representing themselves. That's where we are heading. Because how can people trust a system that punishes ordinary citizens for breaking the smallest rules, rewards incompetence in government, and opens the borders while citizens at home struggle to survive? The British public are not blind. They see the hypocrisy. They see the double standards. They see the deceit. And they're getting tired. Every scandal, every mistake, every excuse adds fuel to the fire that's already burning hot. And it's not a fire of hate. It's a fire of frustration, a fire of betrayal, a fire of loss of trust, loss of pride, loss of belief that those at the top are truly serving those at the bottom. The British people are loyal, but that loyalty is not infinite. When the system keeps taking and giving nothing back, people snap. And when that happens, civil unrest becomes not a possibility, but inevitability. Trust is the backbone of a functioning society. In the military, trust keeps soldiers alive. In politics, trust keeps nations stable. Lose that, and everything starts to fall apart. And that's where Britain is heading. From Rees rental scandal to immigration leniency. From lies in Parliament to failures in law enforcement. Trust is evaporating. People no longer believe that the government acts in their interest. They no longer believe their promises of accountability or change. Because how can they? When every week brings a new headline of corruption, failure, hypocrisy. And let's not forget, this isn't just Labour. This is a legacy of decades of political rot. But something Labour are exaggerating and increasing. We see the same pattern, the same excuses, the same arrogance. The faces change, but the rot remains. And that's the dangerous part, because the British public aren't stupid. They know what's going on. They feel it in their wallets. They see it on their streets. And they hear it in every hollow political speech. And when words lose meaning, only actions remain. That's when protests grow. That's when tempers flare. That's when trust turns to anger, and anger turns to unrest. So what does all this mean? It means we're living through a slow collapse of leadership, a collapse of integrity, a collapse of unity. Rachel Reeves' scandal isn't just a paperwork mistake. It's a mirror reflecting everything that's wrong with the political class. No accountability, no awareness, no responsibility. Meanwhile, the British public are expected to obey every rule, pay every fine, and swallow every broken promise. Combine that with immigration policies that seem to prioritise everyone but the British taxpayer, and you've got a nation ready to erupt. It's not far right, it's not extremism, it's ordinary people saying enough. Enough of being lied to, enough of being ignored, enough of being punished while those in power get a free pass. Britain's trust is thinning by the day, and if the government doesn't start listening, they're going to find themselves facing something far bigger than a few angry headlines. This isn't about hate, it's about accountability. This isn't about politics, it's about fairness. And it isn't about left or right, it's about right and wrong. So every viewer watching this, demand better. Because real change doesn't start in Westminster. It starts with the people. It starts with you. Hold your government accountable. Never be beaten by lies, corruption, or division. And remember, unity doesn't come from slogans. It comes from integrity, from fairness, and from standing up for what is right. Stay strong, stay disciplined, and as always, never be beaten.